You're watching the CG Live podcast. Now, the content for these podcasts are a little bit different than our normal pods as we bring on members and do long-form interviews. These were actually recorded live at our events with members that were going on stage to present, so the content is killer. Enjoy the show. Welcome back into the Live Collective Genius podcast. It is Q2, June here in Clearwater Beach, Florida. We are at our CG Premier and CG CEO meetings. I am super happy to welcome in our next guest. Joseph Back I can't even name all the states that he's in now. I've watched this young man scale in a very short amount of time into many states. Let me see if I can guess them all, Joseph. So I know that when we first started talking a few years ago, you were in Alabama.
That's right, yeah.
You were also in Kentucky.
Yep.
Since then, you have added Georgia.
That's correct.
And you have added Ohio.
You got them all.
Did I get them all?
There we go.
Nice,
We got them all.
nice. Winner, chicken dinner. All right, so now that I've told everybody where you are operating, tell everyone where you, the specific cities and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so we have actual brick and mortar offices in Montgomery, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, and then most recently Cincinnati, Ohio. What we specifically do is we wholesale. So we're very much a volume shop. We did 459 deals last year,
Wow.
and that's our core focus.
When you joined Collective Genius, what was that number? It wasn't 459. I know that.
It was not. We joined December of 2020. In full year 2020, we did, I believe it was 65 deals. So come a long way. I mean, we did 50 last month. So.
I'm laughing because you've increased it 400 transactions since 2020 on an annual basis.
I think the big part being part of this group. We saw a lot of people. I remember the first event I came and saw Eric Brewer doing 350 in York, Pennsylvania, and it just broke my entire frame because I thought the most you could ever do in a place like Montgomery, Alabama was like 50 or 60 deals a year.
Sure.
And that really opened me up to what was possible.
It's that right there. If you had in a nutshell of, your first meeting at the Collective Genius, if you're someone that is, doing 50, 60 deals and you feel like you're in maybe a smaller market and you're going, hey, there's no way I can do more, there is a way. And usually it's that Roger Bannister moment where you walk in the room and everybody's doing under 4-minute miles. Yeah. And you're going, there's no way that person is doing 200 deals in a mid-sized market. Oh, yes, there is. There is a way. And obviously, when you're in smaller markets, you need to look at doing as much as you can, going deeper versus wider. But once you feel like you have gone as deep as you possibly can go, then you may need to look at other markets. And obviously, you've done that. When we first talked, goodness gracious, it's almost been 5 years ago now. Yeah. You were specifically you were in Alabama, but you had graduated from the University of Kentucky. So you had rentals in Lexington. I do remember that. Once you got in the room and you said, all right, I need to make sure that I go deep as I possibly can, what was that next market that you said, all right, we want to continue to go deeper in Montgomery, but we also want to look at this next market? What was that?
Yeah, the next market after Montgomery, obviously we had Lexington going just because I was from there and we kind of grew that some. But it was Columbus, Georgia. And the simple fact being, there's no grand scheme there. I lived in Auburn, Alabama. My wife was in veterinary school, and it's an hour drive one direction to Montgomery. The other complete opposite direction, if I go east, is Columbus, Georgia. And so, I wanted to be present in the market to help get it going and build that momentum. And so we opened there in, I believe, July of 2022.
For those that are listening right now that, going into, let's call it your second main market, because you were already in Lexington, but you were really boots on the ground in Alabama. What is the best advice that you would give for that person that's saying, hey, I'm as deep as I possibly can go. I want to continue to do deals in my main primary market, but I'm looking for the next one. What's the best advice you could give them?
I think the biggest thing is, and it can be hard depending on where you're at, but I think it's opening somewhere where you can be there in person 1 or 2 days a week. I think that made a huge impact. I can also tell you, we've had a number of kind of what I call cold opens, so a brand new market that we're not done business in before. Columbus, what we did wrong is we turned all the marketing on right away. We hired like a whole team right away. There was no kind of a
no revenue.
Yeah, no revenue, no like baby steps. It was all in, and we wasted a ton of money. And you have some turnover initially a lot of times because it's not the right fit.
Sure.
And we learned that lesson. And when we opened some of the other markets, Louisville and Cincinnati, we had like a whole 5-phase approach. We basically had to earn the right to increase our marketing budget or hire another employee by hitting certain revenue metrics and certain amount of cash in the bank metrics for that specific office, because it needs to be profitable on its own. And that's been a much better approach, a lot less money wasted before we start getting it to be profitable.
Money wasted, but at the same time, lessons learned, to
That's
which you just presented downstairs. We are, for those that are just tuning in, we're at our live Collective Genius Q2 event here in Clearwater Beach, Florida. Joseph Back is joining me, one of our longtime members. He just presented on one of our track presentations, and that particular track presentation was those lessons that you've learned in scaling. You are growing your gross revenue, but as most people scale, they start to notice that that net revenue may not be at the same clip that it may have been in the past as you start to scale, and that's part of it. But your particular presentation was on quality over quantity. How did that land downstairs?
I think it went really well. I think a lot of people understand that struggle. I mean, it's part of growth. We invested a lot of money in those 2 new offices last year. And I think a lot of what opened our eyes is, we come to CG and there's always that, they call it the CG slap, where you come in, you think you know it all, you think you're doing all these amazing things, and you just see somebody else that's got at least got one part of the business way more figured out than you do. And for us, that was 2 quarters ago, and we watched CJ Moss present on how we were coming in, we were proud of doing 459 deals, 6.8 million in revenue. And then we walk into a room and CJ Moss did 180 deals, but 7.5 million in revenue. He had a team that was a quarter of the size of our team, and he's doing more revenue and a lot more net profit than us. Less deals, less brain damage, less people, just overall a lot less, but doing more. And so we really kind of opened our eyes to want to pursue that ourselves. And that's what this year's been for us, is really focusing on quality over quantity and evolving from being a money-making scheme into a real world-class brand as a company.
Love that. CJ Moss actually will be on the podcast a little bit later, so I'll make sure that he knows of some of the influence that he had with that presentation, which is what I love, is that sometimes members don't realize the impact that they have on other members when they present. And I know the same thing will be for you. For that group down there, as you presented quality over quantity and the steps that you're taking right now, is there a 0 to 1? Like, if I'm going to implement, start tomorrow, quality over quantity, what did you leave them? I hope they left with so they could start this tomorrow.
Yeah, we started to ask them, we asked them where they're chasing quantity over quality and really looking at what's most important. I think for us, it kind of boiled down to 3 key things. If I had to name 3, number 1 was we've shifted a lot away from outbound marketing to inbound. We all know that on the surface, outbound, leads from cold call, text, they don't convert to appointments at as high of a rate as a little bit more expensive inbound lead does. But we looked back last year and looked at our entire sales funnel. We realized not only do those outbound leads convert to appointments less, the appointments get canceled more often, they convert to contracts a lot less, they fall out more, and they have a lower profit per deal. And we just realized that these outbound leads were polluting our sales funnel all the way down to the closing table. And realizing, to build a better culture and a better morale, we needed to invest more heavily in inbound marketing and in branding, really. And that's one of the main things of that shift. Second would be just increasing our profit per deal, having multiple exit strategies, not being pure play wholesale, just underwriting deals to more profit, not letting our reps offer higher amounts. And then lastly is just trying to get our fallout rate down. We had a lot of deals that would get canceled because of seller's remorse or title issues, or we're not able to find a buyer. We've taken a lot of actions to try to improve that as well.
For a young man, you've got a lot of things figured out, my friend. Like that answer that you just gave, if you are listening to this on a recording or you're watching live right now, I would definitely go back and listen to that one more time. What you just said, if more people would apply, just looking at, all right, what's falling out? Where do I trim the fat? How do I get more profit per deal? It sounds easy. Obviously, it's not, but it's what gets focused on, gets measured, gets done, right? Obviously, you've done that in this time of scale. Scale means something different to everyone. Why why for you at you're you're a young man, like to be in these multiple markets, to grow a business at this level, to build a brand, a true brand is what you're trying to do. What motivates you? Why are you trying to do that?
I think it's just as I've grown as a person, when you start getting into this industry, I was young and I just wanted to focus on, how can I make money? How can I put some sort of business model together that turns some sort of a profit? I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to optimize for deal count, for revenue, just to create something. Really, I kind of see that as I was creating a scheme to make money, and every shiny object was a new opportunity to try to do something else. And as we've grown and kind of matured, we've realized that I really want to build something that I'm proud of, not just proud in the sense of, I was proud of the company we have today, but I want to build a true brand that lives beyond me, where I'm walking in the door every day and 60% of our customers, their first interaction isn't an Egyptian cold caller who sounds really cringeworthy when you listen to the recording.
Mm.
When I have a team that maybe they're operating in the gray area in the sense of they're not telling a seller full on that we're wholesaling the deal. We're changing all of those things. We'd be 100% transparent, 100% world-class in everything we do. And the reason for that is I want to be proud of where I work and what I've built. And I also think it helps tremendously. We've already seen this. We've recruited 2 new sales reps in the last week. One of them heard our radio ad and was wanting to get into real estate and found us through that. Another one, we run meetups in all of our markets. They came from the meetup. And so just, I think building that brand and seeing some of the other CG members that have grown a lot, that's what's led them to get to the next level, is building a true brand versus just focusing on ROI on every single aspect of their business.
You are a great example of someone that comes in to this community and grows their business. I mean, clearly nearly 400 additional deals from the first year that you joined on an annual basis. For those that are coming into a community like this or even exploring it, the idea, what has been your secret to success coming to these quarterly meetings? Because I talk a lot about just being in the room, but clearly you come in with some intention. You have a great COO that comes with you. What do you think your secret sauce has been in this community?
I think it's something you'll hear a lot, but I think a lot of times the basics are the answer. I think the key is, first few events, I think most of us, it's like drinking from a fire hose and you come back and you try to implement 10 things and none of them get traction. I think one of the key for us is when we come back from CG, we really only try to implement a maximum of maybe 3 things that we learned, usually only 1 or 2. And that allows us to really get traction on those things. And it seems really slow because, for example, we're here today and I've heard 4 different presentations on AI and I want to implement every single thing that they're saying because I think it's so dramatic and crazy incredible. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to make sure that I don't just dump those 20 ideas on my team. I pick just one specific thing that we need to implement in the next 90 days because knowing that actually getting adoption of one thing is way more impactful to the business than throwing 20 things out there, but none of them sticking.
That's right. So do you come in, obviously you learn a lot, like you just mentioned on the AI presentation, or a lot of notes that you took that I want to do a lot of these things in the future, but you come in with intention. Do you say, all right, this quarter we're going to really attack scaling. This quarter we're going to attack quality. How do you come in with those type of things written down that you can purposely ask for connections?
We do. I think it depends on the quarter. But I always, before I go to CG, did it last week, I go with all my leadership team members and ask them, hey, what is one problem you've been running into that been banging your head against that you just can't figure out? I want to make sure I get at least one problem from every single leadership team member to bring to CG to ask the world's best investors, how have you tackled this? Because every single time if I have that, I come here, there's 3 different solutions that I get from a problem that it feels like none of us could figure out a single solution for. So I try to ask all the leadership team members, what is that one problem?
So we are day 2. We are halfway through day 2 here at our Q2 event here in Clearwater Beach, Florida. Give me your takeaways so far. The one thing that's made the top of your list. Obviously, you mentioned AI, but that's a long road to haul. The number one thing so far that's on the top of your list that you want to go back and implement.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of in a middle space right now because it was so interesting yesterday. Obviously, we had an amazing AI presentation, and it feels like AI is eating the world. But at the same time, we kicked off the day with an amazing presentation by Alan Stein, who really talks about focusing on the basics. And so I kind of feel like, for me, focusing on the basics is the number one thing. I think I'm actually going to probably do a little bit of less of the AI things because I feel like I know my shiny object syndrome will just get wrapped up in wanting to do all of it. And if we can just focus on the basics and the fundamentals of our business, we're going to continue to get better. And I really like the presentation by Alan talking about how Kobe Bryant, the best in the game, spends 45 minutes of his workout on basic footwork drills that middle schoolers do, and how that's how he became Kobe Bryant. That's why he is Kobe Bryant. So, I think just focusing on the basics and bringing that back to the team.
The actual quote from Kobe was he never got bored with the basics. And I know that the basics are boring, but for our industry, I mean, obviously there's a lot of technology coming down the pike. I mean, we have to be ready for that and we have to implement it. In fact, 2 of our podcasts from yesterday with Steve Trang and Sharad Mehta, both were on specifically on the impact that AI and technology in general will have. And a lot of it's for the better, no doubt about that. But some of that's going to take time, and you have to be aware of it. And one of the reasons that we continue to make sure that every quarter we're bringing new people. We'll have a 2-day, or tomorrow, we'll have 2 different presentations on more AI. That's exactly what members want. So we want, how do I get back to making sure that I'm focusing on that AI or that technology and also the basics? There's a lot of things what I would always recommend is this for every member is force rank your ideas. Whatever you have written down, and this is regardless if you're in this community or not. You learn something at a meetup, you learn something from a mentor, you're going to write down 10 or 15 things. I would always suggest this. Force rank those ideas. What will give you number 1, number 2, number 3? What are the ideas that would give you the most amount of revenue with the least amount of effort? Those are that when you say the most amount of revenue, that is very basic, but never boring when you're making a bunch of revenue. And that is the presentation that really what you were focusing on, right? Is quality over quantity. And like you said, you can do a bunch of deals, but if you're making less money in scaling, why scale?
Exactly. That's
right?
very true. Yeah.
Why do that?
Take on all the extra people, all the extra deals, all the extra brain damage. It's a big question.
Very much so. I appreciate you presenting today. I can truly say, as I'm looking out into the audience right now, like there are a few people that join this community that take full advantage of it, meaning that you give value and you also have, with intention, made sure that you make connections for the things that you need right now in your business. There are very few that I have seen go from where you are, where you started to where you are today. You should be very proud of that. You had to do the work. The community helped you along the way, but you had to do the work. I would put you and Jeff Nidegger in Chicago. I would put the 2 of you as the 2 businesses that I've seen scale the most, and you're well on your way to that CEO room, which is just down the room, just down the hall here. Keep doing what you're doing. You should be very proud of what you've accomplished in a very short amount of time.
I appreciate that, Leon, and very thankful to be part of the group. It's made a huge impact for me as a person and for my business.
Yeah, I love hearing that. More so the person piece than even the business, even though the business part of it is why most people come. The life aspect of it is the cherry on top that you get when you are a part of this community. And so if you'd like to be in a room with members like Joseph Back, who has scaled roughly 400 deals, my goodness, that's such an impressive number in a less than 5-year time frame. The easiest way to get in the room is to start by checking out our site, explorecg.com. Once you're on that site, you'll see an application. Go ahead and apply. That's what Joseph did almost 5 years ago. On the other side, he ended up on a consult with me. We had a conversation. I knew that he would be a good fit. Did I think that he would come in and in a short amount of time grow his business to the level that he's in multiple states and multiple cities? No, I did not. But that's why we do the consult and why you get in this room and we help you continue to grow and scale to what that means to you. So explorecg.com, check that out. And from there, we will take the easiest part is just to have a conversation with us. And if it's a good fit for both sides, we'll talk about next steps. All right, so that wraps it up for this live podcast. We will be back after lunch. I think it's time for us to grab some food.
Oh, yeah.
We'll head downstairs, and then we've got 3 more guests here for the rest of the day that you won't want to miss. We'll see you on the next Live CG podcast.
Are you ready to scale your real estate business?
Visit explorecg.com,
where real estate investors come to scale. Subscribe to the Collective Genius podcast and hit the bell icon to be notified when our next episode releases. And thanks for listening. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and the opinions expressed by the hosts and participants are their own. The Collective Genius is not liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, or other damages resulting from reliance on the information shared in this podcast.